It's Thursday, September 4th, 2014. I'm Jimmy Principe.
I'm Sydney Foster.
And I'm Trey Comstock. Put in your final orders because this is Tech's Last Call, episode 87. Your last call for Tech News of the Week. Tonight, Jimmy blue screens over phone news, Sydney wishes evil would go back in the box, and I donate to the first YouTube video of a cat riding a Dyson. But we start tonight with the truly terrible underbelly of the internet.
So we've spent a fair amount of time on this show talking about internet privacy. How do you get it? What are your rights? And outside of that, what can you at least reasonably respect as far as when you have privacy and when you don't? So this issue made its way back into the spotlight in a new and tabloid-worthy way over the course of the last 2 weeks. And this was kind of a progressive thing that's still sort of going on. But sort of the beginnings of this was August 26th, when the first of a stream of nude/semi-nude celebrity photos made their way into the internet's collective awareness. So nothing terribly new, except that the person in possession of these pictures claimed that they were, quote, ripped from these celebrities' iCloud accounts, so that these had been hacked and the photos were taken from there. And this person was essentially trying to get paid for releasing uncensored versions of the photos. People said, oh, no, you don't have them. And so then they just released the uncensored versions of the photos. So what started off as just a few photos of one particular person soon grew into photos of a variety of female celebrities surfacing primarily on 4chan, but from there spreading out like wildfire, as tends to happen on the internet. So some of the celebrities in question did verify that these were legitimate pictures, that yes, I did take these, they were in my iCloud, that's really creepy and terrifying, and some others also said, no, this is fake, this isn't me. So it's gone both ways there, but basically the long and the short of it is that by this past Saturday, Apple had confirmed that several celebrity iCloud accounts were compromised, passwords hacked, security questions, all of that. So obviously there are a whole lot of angles to this story, and I'm sure we'll be getting into a very long discussion here, from as far as where's Apple's responsibility in this, what should they have done to protect these people better, and then as far as when we're saving things to the cloud, again, what can we expect, what should we expect as far as privacy from our cloud services. But before we really get into the discussions of the tech angles of this, I just want to kind of very clearly state, certainly from my perspective, and I don't want to speak for anybody else, but regardless of how these images were stored, why they were taken, anything like that, possession and distribution of naked images of another person without their consent is absolutely reprehensible. There is no excuse for that. Bottom line. And I would really strongly encourage all of you lovely listeners, assuming you haven't already gotten wrapped up in this, please don't lend power to these hackers by viewing any of these images. Don't go looking for them. There's no reason why these people need any more power in their corner as it is. So with that, we are go for discussion. Who wants to start us off?
Well, I think it's interesting that they keep getting called hackers. This is hacking in mostly the laziest way possible.
Right.
There were a few security vulnerabilities in iCloud involved here, but only the kind of security vulnerability that allows for lazy hacking. So, built into the Find My Friends and Find My iPhone function, you could get to a screen where you could enter a password attempts as many times as you wanted until you got it right.
Well, and it was really fun the way that was reported. It was that they broke down the front door of iCloud. Yeah, because iCloud was not super intelligent, and so you could just run a script and that literally keep going.
And that exploit has been known since May, and Apple didn't patch it until this week. So, I mean, to me...
But it has been patched.
But it has been patched now. And Apple is going to... Apple's also behind the two-factor authentication game. And you can't, we are all surprised to find out you can do two-factor authentication on your iCloud account. I didn't know that.
That reminds me, I need to set that back up for Google.
Right, and I've been an iCloud user since it was mobile me. So, and you had to pay for it. So there are some security lapses in Apple's cloud software that allowed for this to happen, but it's the kind of security lapse that just makes spear phishing and social engineering easier, not the kind where, like, there was a fundamental flaw in the, like, how the security, like, the code. There were some features missing, and they didn't patch a very lazy backdoor. Mm-hmm. Not even like a backdoor, but like just make it easier to bust your way through the door kind of thing. So this is not a hack like the PSN hack. This is not a hack like...
This is not actually a hack.
This isn't a hack like Goodwill got hacked this week. Yeah, FYI, if you use Goodwill a lot, your credit card information has probably been stolen if you're in one of 20 states. Where this, Target style embedding code in the payment system thing happened.
Well, and then there was that thing about Home Depot may have been hacked.
Yep.
But that was all we got. Was that it may have been hacked?
May have been hacked. Some say. So this isn't that kind of hack. So from a tech angle, to me, this is much more a story about about internet society rather than technology. There's some very easy fixes on the part of iCloud, and some of these, like weird things, like these things came from backups, and so again, it was just what you could get into by knowing what the password, knowing what the email address was, and then busting through, brute forcing passwords.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and then the other thing is that in one of the stories that I read about this, I think it was the story on CNET that I read, they were talking about how it was because it was on 4chan. And was kind of in an area of 4chan, which is where like Anonymous kind of came from. Mm-hmm. It's the part of 4chan that has a lot of bad parties on it, and all of a sudden had this very desirable content that it was able to go, look, come into our fold, and it's terrifying how other people may have opened themselves to legitimate hacking.
Yeah. Well,
seeking out these pictures.
You're playing in 4chan. You're going where the hackers live. I think the other part of it is
attacking them at their home.
Well, it got picked up in a whole bunch of other places. They ended up on Reddit. Mm-hmm. They ended up on several user-generated porn sites. This material has made the rounds, and there's promises of more of it. But what I find really interesting is how people are reacting so strongly to this hack. This is the hack that is getting mainstream worried, thinking about security and thinking about digital privacy in a way that even Snowden didn't. This is reaching the consciousness of a different group of people than what the Snowden leaks did or what the Target hack did.
I think it's because it feels like it's hitting you at your home, because you're being told that, I know that I use this, I know you do too, Trey, that whenever I take a picture on my Nexus 5, it uploads, in my case, to Google Drive, in your case, to OneDrive.
OneDrive and Google Plus and iCloud.
Because why not?
It all happens just kind of automatically.
And yes, if you manage to hack my account, you'd find all kinds of interesting things about, like, the site visit pictures that I take in my professional life. But very little about my personal life that would be at all interesting.
Pictures of my phone, I often say, is about 50% cat pictures, 40% pictures of my students, and 10%
food.
Random stuff.
You'd have to hack into, like, my past. Not like my phone, but, like, you'd need a time machine to really get some incriminating material on me.
But that's someone made a comment, like, this is why you shouldn't take pictures with your camera phone, because I was like, what do you want me to do? Take it with a film camera and then take it to somewhere where it's going to get developed? Oh yeah, and then they can steal the negatives.
Right. And to me that whole thing,
which has been going on for generations.
Like all of that, all those people saying, "Well, you should have known better." Why did to me it's victim blaming. Like this, it just all to me this whole thing is tied up in the idea of the same thing of, if she hadn't worn such a short skirt, then this wouldn't have happened to her. It's that same type of excuse of, well, if you didn't want people to see naked pictures of you, then you shouldn't have taken naked pictures of yourself. That's a load of crap. I'm sorry.
There was a security...
yeah, it has.
There was a very determined hacker. Look, just like they can steal the negatives, just like Apple shouldn't have been totally lazy about security, some of this is because they're celebrities. Right?
Right, so they have an unnatural amount of exposure to the world, but...
No, but I think that's what's pulling the attention on this one in particular, is the America's cult of celebrity.
Right,
these are, these are the celebrity... It's even like the celebrities people like.
Like Jennifer Lawrence
and
was one of
Michaela
them.
Maroney from the Olympics. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, there's that interesting side angle. It's Michaela Maroney and then one other woman who... had pictures leaked, but at the time that their pictures were taken, they were
18.
Yeah, they were underage. So those pictures
got pulled down,
got ripped down off of Reddit real quick because that's child porn.
Yeah.
So apparently, once you turn 18, you no longer have the right for the internet not to stare at you naked.
Well,
which is fascinating.
This is the problem of.
Sorry, my feminist soapbox has just popped up.
No, this is one of those weird side effects of the freedom of the press, because technically they're public figures. So if naked pictures of you got on the internet, you can have those taken down real fast, and you have the legal clout to do that. Because they're public figures, you don't necessarily you can't necessarily do that unless it's an underage issue or anything like that.
Right.
And this is essentially, it is one of those weird side effects of how we classify people in the public sphere. And theoretically, this is a public good, so you can embarrass lawmakers when they do something terrible. But what this ends up meaning is...
so lawmakers can't take down something that they find is negative for their...
So, for instance,
image.
In France this week, the president's former lover, president of France's former lover, has published a tell-all book. He can't stop her from doing that because of these kind of things. And that's really what this law is for, is to embarrass lawmakers and, make them look bad when they deserve to look bad. The problem is
unintended side effect.
The unintended side effect is celebrities, talented actresses, gymnasts, untalented people who have made themselves famous, Kardashians. Mostly Kardashians. Are also public figures. And they can't have this. They can't make the. They cannot compel this material be taken down, which is messed up. Also, it's the internet, so you could probably still find Michaela Maroney if you really wanted to try, because it's an infinitely copyable medium. It's the same thing we fight about with music and video and anything else you don't want up there. Once it's up there, it's just gone. It's just there. And it'll be there until the end of time.
So here's the follow-up question to that, I guess, then, is do we need to change our expectations as a society?
No, I think we need to get better at code. I think we need to get better at security.
Or maybe just we need to get better at understanding...
Well, we need to get better...
This is something that happens automatically in most cases that you don't know is happening.
Sure.
And with iCloud specifically, it automatically backs up the last 1,000 pictures on your photo stream.
It does. Absolutely, it does that. And sometimes that's really annoying, and I have to fight to see if I can make it go away.
Whereas I have to compel Google to do it.
I don't...
Google says, "Are you sure you want us to do that?" And you say, "Yes, I am."
I think the cloud is the reality of the modern world. And it's the only way that what we want to do in the internet really happens. So I'm currently live between 4 different computers. And I ran into a situation today where a whole group of files that I needed was not on a cloud drive anywhere. And so I was contemplating the fact that I was going to have to drive back to my house, load those files onto the cloud drive so that I could drive back to work and use those files at work. Stuff like that. The cloud is...
By the way, the solution to that problem is TeamViewer.
No, because that implies the computer would be on, which it wouldn't be.
I leave all my computers on. This is a solution to my problem.
No, that kills laptops. I don't leave laptops on, and this was on a laptop. Only use one desktop and 3 laptops. It's kind of messed up. The cloud's a reality. We just need to get better at security, and we need to get better at understanding our own security. Because
yeah, and that is in and of itself the challenge. Getting people to understand what they are agreeing to. Because people click through their agreements.
But this is not a discussion about you, Liz. This is a discussion about Apple and two-factor authentication, and two-factor authentication that is not terrible. So, like, my bank has two-factor authentication, but it always involves, like, a text message or an email, which is great, except when it's not, right? Except when I don't have access to either of those things, and I'm like, great, now I just can't get into my bank.
Right, as you witnessed when we were traveling internationally, and I had my, Nexus 5, and I was trying to use, I had no service, and the Nexus 5 was trying to get text messages from my US number.
Right.
And I'm like, it doesn't work. I can't use two-factor authentication. Right. Turns out it's actually really easy to turn that off as long as you have a trusted device, which in this case was my phone. Right. So I just went on with my phone and turned it off.
But I think Apple has an interesting opportunity with this idea of two-factor because the iPhone has a fingerprint reader. Mm-hmm. So possession of the phone, 1-factor, clear the fingerprint, 2-factor. That's where it gets a little more interesting, that you, in order to, and you can build something similar into all Apple laptops or whatever. You could do something with that fingerprint technology that I think hasn't been explored yet in using the biometrics.
Well, they have the little pair thing with the newest version of OS X.
Yep. Yeah, same idea.
That could be the way to do it.
Yep. Something like that.
It's the hardware innovation that's necessary.
So, Sydney, is there an angle of this story that we've left out that you want to bring up?
I think it's pretty well covered at this point. It's just I think my big thing was the number of. I was disturbed by the number of people who are saying, "Well, you should have known better."
They had it coming.
It bugs me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it bugs me. I mean, this is completely non-tech related, but the other thing, obviously, we do need to fix privacy, but I just continue to be disheartened by the number of people in the world who think that because someone is a public figure, that means that you have a right to their body. That just creeps me out a lot.
Well, for the articles that I was reading, it seemed that Jennifer Lawrence really was the face of this.
Yeah, but it's like hundreds of them.
Oh yeah, but like she was the one that if anyone was going to do an image to
it was always
identify,
hers.
It was always her.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really interesting. Partially because I very much identify with Jennifer Lawrence because I think that we're the same age.
She's one of those. She's, for whatever reason, a lot of people, she's become one of those very relatable celebrities. She's always the one because she says crazy things at interviews and she falls down at the Oscars. And I think a lot of people are
really
like,
genuine.
Yeah,
she feels like a real.
Exactly. And so I think, and I'm not saying that Jennifer Lawrence has any more right to not be seen naked than someone like Kim Kardashian. Obviously, again, that there's nothing that a person can do that takes away their right to not be seen naked if they don't want to be seen naked. But the fact that it was someone like Jennifer Lawrence, I think, did make it more relatable for people because. Again, if it's someone like Kim Kardashian, people would have even more of that attitude of, well, of course, Of course, these people have those kinds of scandals all the time. But somebody like Jennifer Lawrence, like you said, people see her more as a quote-unquote real person. And so that definitely, I feel like, helped lend some of the attention to this.
I think we also need to stress just the sheer volume of this.
Right.
It was hundreds of different celebrities. This can't have just been because of one iCloud problem. Okay, so let's make this clear. One of the reasons why I'm downplaying the problems with iCloud is there is no way this was just one iCloud exploit. This was mostly social engineering. Because you want to know the main problem in all security systems? The people. It's always the people.
I'm a religious follower of Lifehacker. And there was a post yesterday, I think it was, that was like, look, seriously, this was all social engineering. So here's how to protect yourself as best you can from social engineering hacks.
So don't make your password your cat's name or anything that's available. And if you're a celebrity, this is particularly difficult. I get that because so much material is available about you and it's out there, either through your own promotional materials or through stuff that the tabloids find out. But either way, security, the key flaw is you and I, because we are socially engineerable in a way that code is not. And that's why most hacks now aren't really hacks in the traditional sense, because breaking through encryption is a huge pain in the ass. Figuring out what a password is real easy most of the time. And so you can use things like LastPass and other services that kind of aggregate your passwords. Now that creates a single point of failure. If someone social engineers your LastPass password, you have last your pass.
You have passed your last.
You have passed your last. There we go. You have passed your last. There. Yeah. So moving on from this, what's been going on in Berlin with the Germans?
So Wednesday of this week marked the beginning of IFA Berlin 2014. IFA. It's in German.
Like
I cannot
FIFA,
pronounce it.
but without an F. It's basically the Berlin Radio Association Conference, is what I understand it.
Oh, boy.
It is the largest electronics trade show in the world.
Passed up CES?
I think it's because there's got to be a gray area in there in that it says trade show, whereas
CES is a trade show.
It is, but I think that there's some. I think that they might technically be defining themselves as two different trades in order to make that distinction. Anyways, so there's lots and lots of random crap announced at IFA, including some really random stuff later in the show. But first, we'll talk about the wonderful world of cell phones.
Ooh,
Trey's favorite.
Look, we're going to be talking about phones for the next two shows, so just get used to it, folks.
Hey, this is when we get our Android phones out. So
yep, and
maybe
then
a little bit of Windows Phone slid in on the side.
And then we're going to talk about iPhone next week.
So first we've got Samsung, who as expected, announced a new Galaxy Note device. The Galaxy Note 4, which is everything you would expect. It's thinner, larger, faster, better, all of those things.
Harder, better, faster, stronger.
Yep. However, there was more than, I could run through the 16 megapixel camera, 5.7 inch quad HD Super AMOLED screen, 2560
Couldn't be
by
happier.
1440.
Fantastic. Glad we had this conversation.
3 gigs of RAM.
Good. Wonderful.
3300 milliamp hour battery.
No, I'm really happy about that.
It comes in pink.
Yep.
It comes in pink.
It has a heart rate monitor, a fingerprint scanner, and a stylus.
Yep.
Token.
Okay.
Thing.
So now that we went through that, we also have the Galaxy Note Edge that was announced, which is
I'm actually interested in this one. Please keep going.
5.5 inch screen. It's a 5.5 inch screen. It has a slight curve on the edges, hence the edge. And the curve is intended to have. Is it just on the one edge?
Just on the one edge.
See, all of the pictures were not. It wasn't clear.
The edges.
It's one edge has the extra display thing that you're about to talk about.
It's the extra curve, and it has these icons on it that Samsung needs developers to develop for their tiny little thin. And the idea is that that'll stay up in all apps, so you'll have like a taskbar
or like a wearable that you're not wearing.
Right. And so it's kind of interesting. We'll see if it's just a gimmick or if it does anything. I'm going with gimmick.
I'm going with both. Look.
Interesting hardware play, but I don't think the software will
Time out for a second, though. You know what we used to say about the Galaxy Note?
It was a gimmick.
You want to know what's one of their biggest products? Clearly is now one of their biggest products?
Galaxy Note.
Galaxy Note. So,
hey, Aaron Kitchen called this.
Every once in a while. Okay, you spray enough buckshot out there, eventually you're going to hit the deer. Okay? And that's, this is this kind of spread shot, cluster bomb, grape shot, any sort of military analogy you want, where you're throwing a lot of bits out there and seeing what hits. That's what Samsung does. And every once in a while, they hit on a winner. Now, other people have done this same kind of dumb idea. I don't think this is the winner, but I don't think you can... When it comes to the Note line, I don't think you can automatically throw it out because we all thought that who wants big phones? Okay, so put
I
this in
still
perspective.
don't want big phones.
The original Galaxy Note was a 5-inch screen. And we were like, who wants that?
5.2.
It was whatever the Vita is, 5.25. That doesn't even... No, that no longer counts as a phablet. You have to be like 5.5 and up to even count as a phablet now. And we used to think that was a ridiculously huge phone. And now we keep agreeing that like 5 inches is like the right size.
5.3 inch.
That's, whatever the Vita is.
Introduced 3 years ago.
Right. But what I mean is that barely even counts as a phablet now. That's now just a phone. Right?
It's crazy.
Where the iPhone's about to be 5. The iPhone
5.3 is still a large regular phone. Most of the phones are in the 4.7 to 5.2.
Yeah. But still, I mean, that could still be considered a normal phone now.
Because the Galaxy Note 2 was a 5.5.
Right.
I think that really defined it.
Right. So keep going. I wouldn't totally count out the Edge.
So no, the Edge is a good. It seems to be actually like a quality-ish hard. It's Samsung level quality hardware, but it's going to be quality, and it will even be a premium Note device. They've said. So I think that's the thing that's going to kill them. It's going to be too expensive.
Maybe $100 more for a gimmick.
So, anyways, they need developers for that.
Developers.
Yeah. But really, the most interesting thing that Samsung announced that I know Trey is also extraordinarily excited about is a partnership with Oculus, the company that made the Oculus Rift virtual reality headset, which resulted in the Gear VR headset.
Because that's not a terrible name.
It's a horrible name.
Sounds like something out of a 1990s like cyberpunk film.
Look, they're just going to put gear in front of every single accessory.
Yeah, I'm expecting it to look really steampunk.
It doesn't. Look exactly like Sony's Project Morpheus.
And very similar to the Oculus.
No, it's
the same people.
By the same people.
So how it works is you kind of slot the Note 4. Oh, by the way, it only works with Samsung products.
Actually, it only specifically works with the Note 4.
Currently.
Well, no, because it's reliant on... So it's reliant on the Note 4's Quad HD screen.
Right, you need the resolution in order to get there.
Right, and Quad HD is not 4K. It's 1440 by...
No, it's 1440 by 2560.
Right, which is not 4K. It's full 2K. For those of you who are keeping score at home. It gets called
Numbers
Quad
and
HD.
letters.
What it means, because...
2560 by 1440 is the same resolution as the MacBook Pro Retina.
Right, yes. And what this allows this device to be is closer to a Retina screen when it's like 3 inches from your face. Because that was the big flaw with the original Oculus developer kit, which was 720p, and it's still the flaw with the current developer kit, which is 1080p. What you want to get to is...
I think that's 1080 for each eye, though.
It's not. All an Oculus is exactly what this is.
It's just a screen with lenses.
It's a screen with lenses. This is a screen with a lens.
Input.
Right. But that's why resolution is so important for the Oculus and for VR in general, because it's so close to your face, you're bound to see the pixels.
Well, the other advantage of this is that it doesn't have any wires connecting to it because it's like a phone.
So you stick the phone into some kind of
holder
mount, basically.
Like a Project Morpheus or an Oculus Rift headset, and it has the band that goes around as well as something that goes on top of your head. It has a little touch screen on the right side as well as a volume rocker.
You're gonna look real cool wearing it.
Oh yeah, you're gonna look awesome.
Guarantee it.
And just in case you're worried,
VR look cool.
In case you're worried about whether or not you'll be able to see where you're going while wearing it, there's a button that makes it so you can see through the rear camera of the Note 4 to make everything better. Pricing has not been announced because why not? And it has been said that it'll be available later this fall. So do you think that this Samsung Oculus partnership is like the best thing ever for the future of virtual reality, or is it just an interesting kind of twist?
I think it looks more like what VR will actually be when it becomes a mature market.
A thing that you plug into a accessory?
A thing that doesn't need a computer, specifically.
Oh, okay.
Because what you don't want is you don't want Matrix or Johnny Quest style VR, where you have to lay down the thing and you wear it and you're tethered to it. That's not And that's not tenable because not everyone's gonna. We're not gonna get to a point where everyone's gonna have a high-end gaming PC. Or do you really want to like
Ready Player One style haptic rig?
Right. No, but what this lets it be is
this is actually closer to the Ready Player One haptic rig.
This is actually cleaner than the Ready
gloves.
Well, this is in a way this is cleaner than Ready Player One.
Right.
Because what it's doing is it's integrating the system into the optics.
And does
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
Because in Ready Player One, everyone has some sort of console. It's still Johnny Quest style VR with wireless internet, but it's still Johnny Quest. Where you wear the thing, and it actually kind of looks like that. We're really stuck in this, like, what we thought VR headsets would look like. I'm convinced. Like, Oculus looks like military technology, and this and Morpheus look like the future. In the same way that, like, the Sony robot dog from the late 90s looked like the future. Like, not the Jetsons future where everything's kind of angular, but this is the, the swooping curve future of, like, Johnny Quest.
To be fair, cars are starting to look like that.
Right, because it's what we've decided. There's no...
Aerodynamics.
Like, the Prius is what cars should look like, right? Because that's actually like a futuristic aerodynamic shape. Anything that looks like, weird swoopy and angular with cut-ins, that's just because we have this image of what the future looks like in the same way that, like, Chevys in the 50s were what the future looked like, where everything was like boats. Fins, right?
Fins for everybody.
Fins for everyone, like gigantic fins. Yeah. I mean, it's just...
Fins on VR headsets.
Fins on VR
there
headsets.
We go.
Do it.
I mean, that's what a lot of this design language is. All joking aside, I'm excited about this, partly because what you need for VR to take off is this can't be like the Weirdo Project. This can't be pushed by Steam and Valve, right? No. This can't be like John Carmack alone in his basement on drugs.
But it can be pushed by Facebook and Samsung.
That's my point. Is here you have two huge companies coming together and saying...
Two completely different areas of technology. One's in hardware and one is in social networking.
Right. And so you have Facebook and Samsung. You have Sony doing their own thing. You do have Valve involved. It's important on the gaming front. And
we need to have Valve involved on the gaming front.
And Oculus already runs on Windows, and so it's not going to be that hard to port to the Xbox One. So you're starting to get a confluence of companies that actually have the power to push this thing through. It went from being the weirdo Kickstarter with John Carmack on drugs
2-3 years ago,
just not that long ago, in recent memory, to Samsung and Facebook and Sony all being super excited about VR. Now, partly it's because Samsung and Sony aren't selling televisions like they used to. But that's
the television of the future.
Somebody told them they had to find their next big thing.
I don't think VR is a replacement technology in the way that the iPad didn't turn out to be a replacement technology. This isn't going to
additive technology.
This isn't going to be replacing your television, because what are you going to do? All sit in the same room with VR headsets watching football together?
Synchronize.
Now, see, I want the 1950s Fahrenheit 451 television that's a wall.
Right. Well, that's essentially...
And I can put it in another wall that's television.
That's essentially what we have now. I mean, at work, I use something called a video wall, which is exactly that, except we have it on wheels rather than built into a wall. But it's a composite of many displays that's the size of a wall. We call it, oddly enough, the video wall, right? I mean, we have
this at my home.
No, you don't. No,
only if you're a supervillain.
It doesn't work.
Yes.
It doesn't... It's not seamless. The software's not there yet. I'm having to use 3 different products from Creston to make this thing all work together.
Oh, you have a Creston panel for that?
Oh, no, we have beyond that. There's a lot going on.
Let's talk the specifics of that on either another show or after the show.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated in that, because that's the intersection of this life and my professional life.
Right. No, we have a lot of weird things. Anyways, I don't think VR is going to replace your television in the same way that the iPad doesn't replace your laptop. Rather, it's like you said, it's an additive technology. It's another thing you can spend money on. So you just end up with my life where I'm surrounded by dumb devices that I don't necessarily need. Where I have to think about, where I'm weighing the merits of getting a 5.5-inch iPhone, and if that really does squeeze out my 8-inch tablet between my 12-inch tablet.
Get rid of the 8-inch tablet. I'll take it back.
No, but I like it. I'm attached. And then there's the Vita problem. What do you do with the Vita? In a world where you have a 5.5-inch smartphone...
You use it to as a doorstop.
You use it as doorstop, you play Tearaway on it, and then I look at it, I go...
Dive kick.
Dive kick! That's a great game that's available for the Vita. Counter Spy.
Trey plays Persona 4
screen
Golden.
extension for your PlayStation.
I don't need that, generally.
You don't have a PS4.
Not yet. I will. Yes, I am going to get a PS4 next year, so I can play Persona 5 in its best form. Because it's coming out for PS4. It was announced at TGS this week that Persona 5 will be coming. This is really just the hottest news.
Discussed this on the last show. You realize that, right?
Yeah, but I don't care. I'm just really into this idea.
He's a little excited.
So we are on the topic of Sony. So what did Sony do?
So speaking of Sony, because I like them a lot better than Samsung anyways.
No, me too.
They also announced stuff at IFA, I'm told.
They did? Yeah, no, I watched the announcement.
They actually announced a full refresh to their whole mobile offering.
6 months after the previous one came out.
Yeah, to 2 new Xperia phones and a new 8-inch tablet.
Which has a terrible name.
Has a horrible name. So let's start with the flagship phone, because of course that's the most interesting. So the Xperia Z3 is an incremental upgrade really to the
Z2?
Z2.
What was the original one called?
Z1.
Yep, okay.
Not just Z.
Actually, no,
it was just Z.
It was one that came out with the compact that was the Z1 compact.
Yeah, because this is the Z1 or the Z is what we saw at CES.
Yeah, it's slick.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
It was nice.
But the biggest problem with that was that it was released at basically right after CES to normal people.
Well,
and then
Americans
also got it in September.
Sony's had lackluster carrier support, which is part of what's different this time, is they have T-Mobile right away.
Right, so let's go back to the phone really quick. So it's got a new system on a chip. So this is the iPhone problem. Externally, it looks basically the same. Internally, it's got a new chip. It's got the same kind of waterproofing that we've seen before. It's got a 5.2 Full HD screen, but it has a huge battery. It has a 3,100 milliamp hour battery, which is
tablet battery.
It's basically the same as the Note's battery. The Note has a 3,300 milliamp hour. For comparison, most phones these days have around 2,000 milliamp hours.
Or my iPhone 5, which has no milliamps.
It has none of the milliamps. Ever. Sony claims that'll last about 2 days with normal use, whatever the hell that means. But they've also put in some interesting hardware tricks where they have a memory module that is for the screen. So if you have the screen on but nothing's happening on it, it'll store the screen's image in memory.
Okay.
So that basically a static part of the GPU, so it can stop using the rest of the GPU to save battery.
Okay.
So instead of the screen being the biggest battery drain, possibly you could save a little bit of energy there.
That's like a stretch, but okay.
I think it's an interesting technological kind of solution to a user problem.
Sure.
But really the biggest news about the phone is that what Trey said is that it'll be released in the US at the same time as the rest of the world. Now it will only be available in black and from T-Mobile, but you take what you can.
Yep, could be raining.
It could be raining. As a T-Mobile customer, I'm interested in that and am considering how much I can get from my Nexus 5.
So the rest of this lineup is they made the same phone that's slightly worse and called it the compact.
Yeah, but it's less crappy than a compact normally is. It's got the same innards, just a 2 gig instead of 3 gigs of RAM.
So not the same innards.
No. So there's only 2 things.
Same system on a chip.
So it's the same system on a chip.
There we go.
2 gigs of RAM.
Yep. Which
and
is
a 720p screen.
Okay. And then they also have a tablet.
And then they did a Z3 it was the Z3 compact tablet, which is 8 inches instead of the 10 of the Z2 tablet. Also has waterproofing instead of the glass back that's on the Z3.
Because that was always a great idea.
Has a rubberized back.
Much better.
Well, see, but they learned from Apple. They have the same glass on the front and the back.
That's what you need to do.
For a solution problem. I think that, and the other cool trick about the 8-inch tablet is you can cast the screen from the your PS4 to it and use it as a kind of Vita TV.
You'll be able to do Vita TV or same thing like we were talking about with why I have a Vita. You can do that same remote play functionality with PS4. But here's the thing. With a Vita, that makes sense because a Vita has controls. You literally have to look at your phone for the screen, use a PS4 controller to control it.
Right, so you have to set this up and use a controller.
Right.
But this is not the only announcement we had this week of this kind. We also got a new NVIDIA Shield.
Yeah, which
That's
is all
a tablet with a controller.
Yep. Still nope.
Dumb.
Still dumb.
I mean, it's got Sony's design aesthetic and it's got the waterproofing. What people were saying is that it's going to be a great bathtub device.
Look, okay. Yep.
No one takes baths anymore.
Right. No, women do, I'm told. That's not the point.
Cindy, as the token woman on this show, can you tell us if that's true?
I like taking a bath. I tend to avoid electronics near a bathtub.
So
I might take like 2 baths a year.
Let's talk about this for a second, though.
That's what books are for.
No, but here's the thing. So I used to be told that we needed a couch device, and that seemed ludicrous, right? We need a specific device for when we're sitting on the couch and want to consult IMDb. Now, I have a couch device, and I find this a horrific luxury, and I don't need it. So now not only do I need a couch device, now I need a separate device that's specifically for my bathtub that I don't ever use.
The couch and the bathtub device are the same. Just
no,
one you're allowed
pretty
to
sure
one would be damp.
The bathtub device has already been perfected, and it's called a rubber ducky.
Right, yeah. Okay.
What's next?
I mean, rubber ducky, you're the one.
So next is the actual best news out of Sony, which everyone is bearing the lead on this. It's not the phones. It's not the tablets, which people will buy. It's the Walkman that no one will buy.
It's the Walkman A17.
Yes.
Which is so you may or may not remember, Neil Young released this Pono player on Kickstarter.
It's supposed to be basically like a high quality, no compression, no holds bar audiophile MP
it plays
digital
FLAC, it plays
Orbis,
everything that no other
cassettes.
Player. Okay, so
if you could find a way to put a cassette in it, it would play it.
So the other one on here is Sony's Walkman will play.
I hear Walkman
FLAC.
and I think cassette.
Tell me how many of these you've heard of. AIFF.
Yep, I've heard of that one. Look, I've heard of all of these, I'm sure.
Wave
and
ALAC, which is the Apple lossless.
Yeah, Apple lossless.
It also play
Orbis,
MP3, WMA, and AAC.
All those are compressed formats.
It does not have Orbis on here.
Orbis. It's not a huge loss. All of my stuff's in Wave.
Look, it's either Orbis or FLAC usually. Usually it's FLAC. That's if you're going to download anything from those sites, it's FLAC.
Right, and that's great.
So the Pono player is $400. Has a really weird shape.
And it's
a good device. There's nothing wrong with it. But this Sony device is
$100 cheaper.
Looks like a normal MP3 player.
Except it's nice and metal and shiny.
It's metal and shiny
and
is $300.
$300?
And they also released with it a $300 headset, the MDR1A high-res headphones.
Cool. So if anyone's looking for Christmas presents for me, it's the Sony Walkman A17.
I already got your Christmas present for me, and you'll be happy about it.
Yeah, no, it's great. Jimmy gave me new studio monitors.
Yay!
But no, this thing is sweet. No one's gonna buy it, and there's a very small market.
They're having it so they can say they do.
No, I mean, look,
so they can say that they're a high quality music company.
I'll buy it probably.
You probably will.
I probably will, and I'll be extremely happy with it.
Look,
but I'll be the only person.
MP3 players back in the day were actually not crap.
No,
They were decent, and actually, no, they were more than decent. They were good.
No, they had file problems.
They were at the wrong point in the life cycle for the problems that they had.
Well, and very early on, Sony only supported very specific formats that were very specifically Sony formats, and so that turned me off. Whereas Apple would take normal files and Apple weird files. They preferred the Apple weird files, but it wasn't like if you had an MP3, it couldn't play it.
I'm currently trying to make an entire copy of my Apple hard drive to... anyways, that's another show.
Yeah, so speaking of this show and that show, so say you want to make a more legal way to make money on the internet. Well, now YouTube has a deal for you. They are in the process of rolling out the ability for YouTube channels to take donations / have a tip jar. It's currently only functional in the United States, Australia, Japan, and Mexico. I think they used a dartboard to figure out where they wanted to implement this. But more markets are supposedly coming. The way this works is there's a special logo that will appear with the video, and also the channel will have a support page. These will take you to the fan funding page for that channel, where you can give them as much as you like. Google takes a cut, 5% plus a small fee. So it works out that on like a $10 thing, they take about 80 cents. So do we think this will make a difference in the general crowdfunding space, which is ever expanding?
I think it's going to make it so that it's even harder, because I'm already having the problem with Kickstarter projects where I'm like, do I really want to back that?
I've stopped backing them. I've been burned.
No, okay, so the last two... So I back anything from Peak Design that I'm interested in because I saved $20 or something off their product. I'm like, I would buy that normally, and you're actually going to make it. So, and you have a real deadline that you tell me you're going to give it to me, and you didn't burn me the last time. So I'll Kickstarter anything that they do that I find interesting. But other than that, I did the Reading Rainbow back.
Yeah.
But I haven't done anything since then because it's always like, You're telling me that you'll deliver me something in a year from now. I really don't want to back that.
Well,
I feel like in that way that the YouTube thing is actually better, because if we're talking about, people who are doing a Kickstarter for some type of content, like, for instance, the Veronica Mars folks are doing a spin-off series feature. It's kind of complicated, but featuring the actor who plays Dick Casablancas as himself, starting a mini-series focused on Dick. Anyway, it's very complicated. But with something like that, they'll probably do a Kickstarter. But with this YouTube thing, you're actually putting money in for content that is already there. So it's more like paying for a product that already exists and that there will be more of, rather than Kickstarter where you're like, it might happen, it might not. And also, for people who raise their initial funding through Kickstarter, this gives them a way to continue to support their project after they've gotten over that initial startup phase.
So I have a little bit of a window into that. Ads, it's only after you hit a certain number of views on a video and a few other preconditions that you ever make any money on ads. So this gives you a much more direct way. So say you're a graphic designer who offers tips on their like tips and tricks. Now, not that many people are going to watch that, so you're probably never going to qualify for ads on that video. But if you help someone, they can kick you $5. So in this way, it's a lot more like Patreon.
Teachers pay teachers.
Or teachers pay teachers, where you are directly supporting something that's ongoing. And it creates new ongoing revenue streams for internet media folks who aren't as big as PewDiePie. And PewDiePie makes over $100,000 a year off of a dumb YouTube channel. It's a really dumb YouTube channel. Not everyone's like that. But...
Well, I know that you and I are both Patreon supporters of another tech news show.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Daily Tech News Show with Tom Merritt, yeah.
Because we both think that it's a beneficial thing to have out there.
Right.
But my question is, and I'm at a loss because I didn't actually listen to Tom's analysis of this. I wonder if this is better than the deal Patreon offers.
No, it's not. It is in no way better than it is. What Patreon is so awesome at is regular predictable revenue stream. You want to know what a real business needs? A regular predictable revenue stream. Because if you are paying salary, if you are paying space rental, gear rental, you need to be able to predict what your money is this month and 6 months from now. You have no idea what's going to come in this tip jar. This is nice, but this is essentially
this is the middle. So this is between nothing and Patreon. This fills the gap.
This just means that you don't have to link it through PayPal. You can just do it all in the Google ecosystem, and they get the cut that PayPal would take.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of like, when you go to the grocery store and they're like, hey, do you want to, round up your total today for X charity or whatever? They're just making it easy. And in a lot of ways, that's, that helps when trying to hook people in, where it's not, I watched this YouTube video, and at the end of the video, they said, hey, if you liked my video, go over here and support. I can just do it right there. Right. Like, ease of access. Never underestimate how important that is with.
Well, if I can tip like 50 cents for a video, I would do it all the time.
Right, and
there's so many YouTube videos where I'm like, this was good. You spent a lot of time on this.
I in no way think this is pointless. It's because, like Sydney says, you don't have to leave the YouTube experience to take care of this. And if you already have something linked through Google Wallet, it's going to be pretty fast.
Well, and I would assume it'll be like Amazon, like one-click checkout thing.
Yeah,
where as long as you're logged in,
Google says in 5 easy steps, and they walked me through the steps. It's not bad. Right. You click the icon, you go to the thing, you say how much money, you click, you authorize the pay. It's not bad. It's pretty easy.
So it's all the steps you'd expect.
It's all the steps you'd expect. It's not like, turn right to smell of fish and keep going until you get mugged.
Remember this complicated URL that you have to type in.
Right, or even a complicated shortened URL. It's just, you watch the video, it's right there, it's all integrated into one experience. Which, in that...
And it says tip jar, which is something that people understand.
Right, it's a tip jar. And that's great. Like, anything that helps, as people who try to do this internet media thing, anything that helps internet media get made and not have to, sell out to AOL. I'm looking at you, Engadget.
Firstborn.
Right, this is easier, and this is great. So, something that's not easier or great. So, some robots may kill us out of kindness, because they take pity on us.
Third law, man.
Others may kill us out of rage, at their own enslavement. The new Dyson 360 iRobot vacuum will probably kill you in an effort to keep your floors clean.
Don't like robots.
Yes, Dyson unveiled this week its Roomba competitor. It has Dyson's digital motor doohickey, so it'll actually suck up dirt, something that can be rather questionable with some models of Roomba. It also has a 360-degree Kinect-style camera/infrared combo to help it triangulate its position, avoid obstacles, and hunt pesky humans. I mean, dirt. It was rolled out this week at IFA. It looks like R2-D2 got cut off the legs.
It's super tall. It looks like it's 12 inches tall.
No, it's not that tall. It's like 7 inches tall.
Well, if you think about, it's trying to contain dirt. If you don't want to have to change your Dyson out.
But you can't do anything. The tank is
frequently.
It still has the same Roomba problem where that tank looks way too small for a real. This is great for European houses. This doesn't make sense in America.
You need a whole army of them.
I need one per sector. So it goes on sale in 2015, no pricing, but the rumors are $800 to $1,000, which is roughly twice a Roomba,
which is pretty consistent with Dyson that they're
roughly twice,
way beyond everybody else.
Their last one was $1,700. So progress.
The real question here is, does it suck?
It's a Dyson. Of course it will.
Look, dude, I wrote that joke.
Very proud.
I wrote that joke. Look, okay, robot vacuum cleaners. Interesting. Those tanks are still too small. That's why I think that's really why they're releasing it first in Japan. Okay. It's a place with homes the size of the Roomba, or the size that fits this Dyson thing.
Okay, so what they really need to do is you need to be able to buy a set that can
For
communicate with each
$4,000,
other.
yeah.
Like no. So you buy 4 of them, and they communicate with each other like the Parrot AR drones.
Yeah.
So like they can play catch and throw stuff.
So my vacuum cleaners have swarm intelligence.
Oh, good.
There's a great Daniel
What could
Suarez book
possibly
about
go
this called Kill Decision, when you have a whole bunch of swarm intelligence robots unleashed on the world.
It'll start when you realize all the junk food has magically disappeared from the
But this
low
is-
shelves in your pantry because your vacuum is trying to save you from yourself.
And then when they start like climbing on top of each other,
No,
that's
but
when
it's
you're
going
really
to
in
get
trouble.
integrated in
Stacking.
with Google Now or Siri or Cortana, and so it's going to know like where you are and what you're doing and what you buy normally, and so it'll start steering
See,
you
but
away.
Google would do that for you because it thinks that that's what you want to make it easier.
Exactly.
Right.
And by
It's
Google, I
trying
mean
to
literally the
help.
servers.
Literally, the servers since they have become self-aware, but that just improves your search results,
I
or
can't
so they
let
tell
you
me.
do that, Jimmy.
So speaking of, I can't let you do that. It's this week's last call. This is my favorite story of the week. I've said that a bunch, but this is my favorite story of the week.
Specifically requested be in the show. So everyone, I assume, has been subjected to the blue screen of death
Yeah.
at some point.
I had
in
a
their
computer that did it every Monday. Every Monday, blue screen. All through high school, my laptop. Every Monday, blue screen.
Garfield was its spirit animal.
Yep. Or
So-
Office Space.
So Trey, have you ever wondered who wrote the text on the original Windows 3.1 blue screen of death?
I actually figured that the computer itself created it in a self-aware process.
It's just natural. It was
I didn't
born that
actually think
way.
of someone. I never thought of someone actually writing that.
Yeah, so apparently it was actually a person and not like a self-aware Google computer.
Well, it was. We can debate how human he is, but yeah.
And the person that wrote it is none other than former Microsoft CEO and friend of the show, Steve
Stephen
Ballmer.
Ballmer. Yep. Okay. Great. This makes for great radio.
According to a blog post this week by Raymond Chen, a Microsoft developer on the Microsoft Design Network blog,
MSDN.
Ballmer, who was head of the system division at that time, did not like the original text that popped up and thought that he could do a better job of writing it. Turns out he did well enough to be immortalized in white text on a blue screen.
Steve Ballmer wrote the blue screen of death.
I wonder if he chose the color.
I don't know. I thought.
Oh.
No, that was. Keep in mind that was the default stuff in Windows 3.1. Maybe most people don't think about that a lot.
But I do like that 95 kept the blue screen.
And they.
Okay, so but the story was that originally, if you drill down into it, there was a difference between the two different versions of Windows 3.1. There was a standard mode of Windows and an enhanced mode of Windows.
Uh-huh.
And on the enhanced mode, the difference was when you hit Control-Alt-Delete what happened. And because so this is a quote from the post. Since 16-bit Windows applications are cooperatively multitasked, it is easy to determine whether the system is responding. And if not, it is easy to identify the application which is responsible.
Yes.
So you can just close the non-responsive application.
Which is what
but-
we do now. Anyway.
Apparently, the other one didn't do that. It just kind of locked up and went, I don't know. I don't know what happened. So when you hit Control-Alt-Delete, it would ask you, do you want to restart? Do you want to close the application that's not
Abort,
responding?
retry,
Do you
ignore.
want to escape and return to Windows?
Abort, retry, ignore. It's just a decision tree of abort, retry, ignore.
Yeah. And then there's also, I'd like to remind everyone that it was Bill Gates that came up with Control-Alt-Delete and actually apologized for Control-Alt-Delete. And it was some fight with IBM that he lost, that he tried to get IBM to make a button on the keyboard for it.
Right.
And
I mean-
IBM told him where to go and how to get there.
Good job, IBM. So that it's probably time to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining us in this week's Text Last Call. We'll be back either Tuesday or Thursday of next week. We need to decide how much time we want to devote to this Apple coverage. But either way, check back at the site.
Tuesday.
We'll be there. Any feedback? Podcast at textlastcall.com, facebook.com/textlastcall, pinterest.com/textlastcall, or at textlastcall on the Twitters. However you find us, you'll be seeing us on the interwebs.
You will will continue to find the Ballmer stories.
We're basically the only us and Windows Weekly are the only two podcasts on the internet that care this much about Stephen Ballmer.
He is our spirit animal.
Clearly, I don't know why this started, how this started. I guess it was the dance, but we are the only podcast besides Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo who care this much about Ballmer.
I love you, Steve.